Hey guys, this is Tyler, and today I am here with my friend Vince, and we are starting a brand new channel called TNV Talks.
TNV Talks is essentially where you guys provide us with a topic in the comments, something like that. And of course, right now, as a new channel, we're not going to have a that big of a community just yet, but we're going to start off with just a few topics, and we'll get into today's topic soon. But first, we wanted to introduce ourselves. So I'm Vince. Tyler, you go ahead first. Actually, you go
Okay,
ahead.
so I'm Tyler, and I'm 20 years old, about to be 21 in July. And to give you guys a little bit of a background about myself, I work at a place called BJ's Wholesale Club. It's an alright job, and a couple things I like. I like gaming. I like photography. I enjoy editing a lot. And just I don't know, just all the stuff that goes with YouTube and stuff. I like doing all that. So that's just pretty much me, and nothing too special. So go ahead, Vince. Tell them about you.
All right, I'm Vince, and I'm 19, and birthday's coming up September 3rd, a couple months away, and I'll be 20. So that's gonna be exciting out of the teen years. But a little bit about myself, actually. I enjoy photography. That's pretty much the main thing, photography, and I like taking videos here and there, and stepping out and just trying something new with this podcast is something totally different. But yeah, main thing for me is photography. But another thing both Tyler and I enjoy is geocaching, and today we kind of just wanted to discuss what geocaching is and just share a little bit of experiences with things we experienced, and we'll go ahead and explain everything to you. But so what is geocaching? Geocaching is a GPS location based game. You can use a GPS, your phone. You can just go into the App Store right now and just download geocaching. It's GEOCACHING. I think I spelled it right. But anyway, what it is you use your phone, and there's all these hidden, I want to say treasures, but they're not so much treasures. There is a treasure of finding them, but they're hidden containers throughout the world. There's over 2 million of them, and essentially they're in different sizes, and they're hidden in many different ways. But you essentially use your phone, and they take you to the cache. So there's all these different markers on the map on your phone, and you just drive to them, and from there you'll see a nice description. And some of the caches kind of have meaning behind them. They could be memorials for someone. I found a few like that. They can share an adventure with you. So someone may have took an adventure to place this cache, and they want you to share that same adventure with you. But yeah, so geocaching is pretty much finding hidden containers throughout the world, and they can take you on some great adventures. And today, we kind of just wanted to share some of them adventures with you, tell you about it, tell you what we enjoy about it. Tyler and I have been doing it a lot recently. We got at night, but yeah, Tyler. So did you want to have to say anything about it, or?
Ever since Vince showed me geocaching, it's really opened up my world, because places that you wouldn't think that there is a hidden container, or like a geocache as you call them, there's one there. For the most part, a lot of geocaches are hidden under lampposts or in guardrails, or just the most obvious spots you could ever think.
So what are these containers like? How big are they? How small are they? And what do they look like? Well, a geocache can be pretty much anything that is watertight and water camp, any kind of container. So they can be as small as your pinky, which are referred to as micro. There's several different sizes. There's micro size, there's small, medium, and large, which large can be the size of a paint bucket. Medium is essentially a ammo can, which are the most used ones, and what geocaching is mainly about is the ammo can, the famous ammo can in the woods. But here lately, it's not so much that anymore. And then there's a small, which is typically the size of a sandwich container. And then there's the micro, which is about your pinky. And then there's something called a nano, which is pretty much the size of your thumbnail, really, in all honesty. But
to stop you there, what is the biggest container you have found? Like, do you remember the what it was?
So the biggest one I found. Now, I haven't. The one surprising thing, and I have I'm almost at 600 finds, so I found almost 600 of them. I will say you can track all your statistics. I haven't found an actual large one. I found the occasional ammo can in the woods. I remember there was one not too far from where we live. So we live in Maryland, if we didn't say that. Sorry about that. But we live in Maryland, Baltimore to be specific. My voice just cracked really bad.
That was great.
But I found one at a nearby park. A lot of them can be at parks. They could be, up the street. Really, they could be in the sewer, hanging from a sewer drain. But I'm just rambling now. But there was one in particular that I remember. It was just you had to go across a huge field, and there was a few steps into the woods. A spot that not many people would go, but if you're a geocacher, and surprisingly there's a lot of geocachers, but if you wouldn't be at this location unless you were looking for something, and it brought me right to the edge of the woods, by like some old looked like an old stone fire. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't.
Like a fireplace,
yeah,
like a stone fire, like. What do you mean, like stone fire?
It was a stone structure, I will say that,
Okay.
but it kind of resembled I don't want to say a chimney, but like a fireplace almost. And it was just sitting in there. I mean, it was nice. It was something as simple as that. It takes you on a little journey, and it shares again the adventure with you. But yeah. So how many do I hide? I have about 60 hidden, but
I only have about like 10.
yeah. Well, with that being said, there's a different difficulty too. So caches can be very easy where, as Tyler mentioned earlier, they could be just under a light post or they could be in a guardrail, which those are a typical 1 or 1.5 difficulty. Now, you can go from 1 difficulty up to 5. 5 is being the hardest. It requires a lot of skill to find it, which some of them, it may be a 5, but I mean, they're not, everybody thinks differently, and maybe someone will think of something later than someone else, so I mean, but a 2.5 is what I've mainly found most of the time. But as well as same thing as difficulty, there is same thing with terrain. So terrain is a scale 1 to 5, 5 being a very bad terrain. So terrain means, going on the adventure to the cache, how much of terrain will you encounter? Will it be a very steep hill? Will it be a lake to cross? A lake crossing water, and it would probably be about a 3 terrain,
And some caches also require you bring your own tools too. Like you might need a ladder for one, or you could maybe need a boat or just anything along lines of that would be a tool.
Yeah, so they're called tools for trade. I haven't found many caches that require a tool. I don't think I've really found any.
But you have hid one.
Yeah, but I have hid one that you have to use tools. So that kind of brings on the hide. So I hid a lot of them. I like hiding them. I like going on the adventure to hide them, and just kind of seeing cachers go on that same adventure and then share their stories. So you can also, one thing I really haven't mentioned, and I probably should have, is inside the container you can sign that you've been there. And when you make a geocaching account, you make a name, and from there you can log that you've been to that cache, and you put the date. You log your username and the date. But,
otherwise, you could see the cache, like, for instance, you could see a cache up high or down low, and just because you've seen it doesn't mean you found it. You actually have to go there and physically sign the log that's inside the container.
And while you can log it physically, after you do that, it's recommended that you log it virtually. It adds up your count on the app, and you get to see how many total finds you have. You keep track of all the caches you've been to, see other people find them. So that's how the fines get into play. But every cache must have a logbook, a sheet of paper, a way to sign it. But yeah, so it's about sharing the adventure for me. I mean, I love geocaching, and I've done a lot with Tyler. We've done a lot of caches recently. I would say since we started.
I would say because I have like 100, 160, and I know at least 150 of them are from just me and him going caching. So, but this leads me into the question: what would be your favorite geocache that you have found?
So my favorite cache. Now, a few of these caches, I have a lot of favorite ones. Memories. The cache that makes it a favorite to me is the memory about it, or how unique it was. And I have a few, so I'll start by saying one that I did a while back. I want to say it was Pennsylvania. I was with Wizard and Suzanne, which they're top of the state of Maryland with 30,000 fines, I think it is. But I thought, I'm Spider. There's another guy named I'm Spider.
Spider has like 99,000.
He's ahead, but I don't know if he's the top in Maryland because I don't know exactly how that works. But anyway, this cache was just off the road. It was like a countryside road. And there was a huge like rock, like a huge boulder. I don't want to say rock, but a huge boulder, and this thing, I mean, it was steep. This was like a terrain.
And you said this was in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, this was like a terrain 3.5, 4. It was either Pennsylvania or Delaware. I want to say Pennsylvania, and this goes along the line of the creepiest one I've done. And I don't know if I think I told you this one, but and probably one of the more bigger caches that I've done because I didn't completely answer your question on that.
Okay.
But what it was is you had to get up the side of this kind of rocky hill. The coordinates bring you when you get within 30 feet of the cache, you'll get notified that you're at ground zero, which is where you stop and get off your phone and start looking. Well, ground zero brought us on top of a rock, huge boulder. I shouldn't have said rock again, but a huge boulder. I'm talking bigger than this house. It was huge, and we had to climb up it. I mean, we got on top of it, and the coordinates brought us there, and we're like, okay, where's it at? Come to find out, there was actually a way to get inside, like kind of underneath, because it was stacked on 2 other ones. So you kind of, cool. It was kind of almost like Gettysburg, but you had to kind of get inside it. It was almost like inside of it. And once you got inside of it, there was a little opening of like, it looked like a little cave almost. I know it sounds crazy, but we sent another cacher that was with us underneath there to go get it, and he got under there and grabbed it. And what it was a huge piece of wood, like I want to say not 2x4, but I'm talking the size of a bed, a standard bed, and it was made to look like a mouse trap, and the cheese was an ammo can, yellow ammo can.
That's cool.
And the thing that creeped me out the most about it was there was a baby doll attached to it. There's a baby doll attached to it, and I don't know why, but I guess it was supposed to represent the
At least it wasn't like a cave full of like baby dolls just hanging there.
Yeah, well, there was one on the cache, and I think there was a couple. There was actually a couple in there, so I guess it's just to add to the creepy factor. But my favorite one, that's the one I think of with memory. I mean, there's so many more. I mean, there's a lot me and you have done.
Yeah.
I'll mention the tree one we did later on, but
now this brings me to the question. What would you say would be the longest you've taken to retrieve a cache, to retrieve a cache?
So the longest one would be the one with me and you.
Okay.
It wasn't long to find it, it was just long to retrieve it. And here's how. A typical guardrail cache, light post.
Yeah, light post.
Light post. A typical light post cache is where you go up to it and then it's just right under the skirt of the light post. You lift it up, and then there's a container right under there, and you just grab it, sign it, and everything. But this one was a little bit different. Difficulty was about, I think, 2, but the terrain was like a 4. And we were like, why is it a 4? I mean, it's in the middle of a parking lot. It was just, what store was that? It was right behind?
It was
Goodwill?
it was actually right by a Goodwill store, yes.
It was right by a Goodwill store in the middle of this empty parking lot. What time was it? It was like 12?
Yeah, it was 12. It's like, and in this parking lot, there was a bunch of truckers that parked there too, so.
It was late at night, probably after midnight, and we do a lot of our caching at night.
If we it didn't mention too, but we call ourselves pretty much Team Night because we're always caching at night. We never usually during the day, but at night.
And we get up to where the cache was. We get by the light post and we're like, all right, this shouldn't be too hard. It should be a simple caching, grab, which is where you just ride up, grab the cache, sign it, put it back where it was, and then go. But it wasn't. We get over there, we start looking after we lift it up, and we realize it wasn't there. We're looking up, and it was a just a black light post, and it was a nice night, but it was foggy. Had a cool feeling in the air. Yeah, it was like a misty feel. It was a nice night, comfortable night, and we're looking up the light post, and I kind of noticed something with the glare of the light from the light post, because it was dark out, and the only light was from that light post, and it kind of shined off some kind of black rectangle. I was like, those aren't normally on light posts. Come to find out, that was the container, and this container was magnetic up towards where the light was. Not too close. I would say if you look at a light post where the light is, it was probably about, I would say, about 10, 12 feet.
It was pretty high. It was pretty high up there. I mean, we were trying to throw stuff at it, and I mean this particular container just seemed to have a super strong magnet on it because it just did not want to move at all.
And if you guys are familiar with the key holders, I guess that's what they are. They're black and they slide
I think it
open.
might have been a super strong key holder.
Yeah, and it had a really strong magnet. So we're like, all right, so how are we going to get this thing down? We probably fiddled with about 20 minutes. We walked just off the parking lot, which there was a steep hill with branches, and it was just a quiet night, and it was a little weird. We felt a little suspicious. I mean, we normally do when we're caching, but we really felt like someone was watching us at this time. And just down that hill of through like the forest, it was dead trees. We can see through everything because of the leaves that were gone. But we see tents set up from homeless people. I mean, it was a little sad to see, but we were just at the top of the hill and we found some broken branches on the ground. So we grabbed one and we go over to where the light post was, and we kind of begin swinging. If you can almost imagine that we were standing up straight on the parking lot.
Like they have the round cylinder.
It's yellow.
Or is it yellow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was like a cylinder block just there, and then the light post was on top, and so Lifehacks climbed. It was a pretty high one too. So Lifehacks climbed on top of that, and he was using this like I wouldn't say it wasn't a strong branch but it moved it. But all it did was move it. It did not. It just didn't want to push it off. And that was our big issue. And I know we were like, okay, well, let's try something more sturdy. So I went to my car and I was like, okay, I have a selfie stick. We tried using a selfie stick. That did not work either. So,
Yeah, so we tried the selfie stick. It was a yellow cement block that held up the light post. When I was up there, I tried hitting with the stick. That didn't work. It broke. It didn't break too much, so Tyler grabbed the selfie stick out of his car, and we kind of rigged it up, and we tied it together.
We're using a belt, mind you.
It was a belt, wasn't it?
Not string, a belt.
And we tried to hook them together, and we tried to give it a swing. And if anything, it kind of split them both, apart. But so next thing you know, after we get it down, we kind of feel a little upset because we don't want to walk away with a do not find. A DNF is where obviously you do not find the cache, but we found the cache, we just couldn't sign it. But just when we thought all hope was lost,
we were about to walk to our car.
Yeah, we see a car pull from behind the Goodwill.
We were like, uh-oh.
And we were like, oh no, what's going on? And the lady saw us and said, what's up there? What are you guys getting? A lady pulls up in this Grand Caravan, or not a Grand Caravan. I'm sorry. What was it? It was
Oh, it was like a little sedan.
Yeah, a little sedan, not Grand Caravan. She pulls up and she says to us, what's up there? And I walk over with Tyler, and we were a little, it was late at night. We were by a Goodwill. We didn't know what to expect. I mean, this lady just rolls up in her car right behind the Goodwill, and we were nice. She was a nice older lady. Her car was filled with it looked like a bunch of junk, or maybe she grabbed, but that's later on. I'll explain. But we began explaining what geocaching is. So just as I'm explaining what it was earlier, I'm explaining to this lady. She asked how to get the app and everything, and she wanted to actually help us retrieve the cache because we showed her, and she's like, is that really something up there? And she was like, you're kidding, and she didn't believe us.
She really didn't believe us at all.
She didn't believe us, and she wanted to help. So she said, I'll be right back. She said, I saw a bunch of, bamboo, right? She said, I found a bunch of bamboo sticks behind the Goodwill. And Goodwill has been getting rid of a bunch of stuff, right? Weren't they getting rid of stuff?
Yeah, she found back there like Christmas stuff, and I mean, and mind you, you're not supposed to really dig through the trash to get this stuff, but she does anyway. But they had like perfectly good stuff, and I don't know, but she came back. She comes around with her car, and she has this giant, long piece of wood. And then she wants to get up there herself and try to knock it down. And we were like, no, we'll get up there. So then you see Vince get up onto that block, take that piece of wood, and just swing like crazy.
So I swung, and I swung. I hit it, but it actually ended up magnetizing to the other side of the light post. So I had to hit it a couple times, and then it fell, and We got it out. We signed the log. We showed this nice old lady what it was, what's inside. I don't know what she expected would be inside. I mean, but when you hear geocache, you think of money, but it's not always that. I mean, it's the adventure. It's, you know, the adventure comes along with it, having fun. But we signed it, and getting it up was easier than getting it down, I will say. And when we got it up there, we pushed it up very high than we found it. But that would have to answer your question, Tyler. I mean, as far as the longest cache to retrieve.
Now, to add on to what you said, that geocaching can be an adventure, it brings me to the question: what is the best place a geocache or a cache has brought you?
So geocaching has brought me to some places that, you know, I don't mind doing them. It's, you know, it's occasional grab of a find a smiley face, if you will. But my one of my more favorite ones, and it was more of a lot. It was more of like 10 to 15 caches. It wasn't just one. But it brought me to the little town of Centralia in Pennsylvania. Centralia, PA was, I guess, I would say it was a town that, unfortunately, was forced to evacuate because of a coal mine fire just underneath. And to this day, it is still burning underneath. The coal is, and it was cool being there. I went there with some people for that reason of geocaching, and we got to go around in this town. It was an abandoned town. You know, like I said, everyone was forced to evacuate. I was able to go around and just geocache, find caches around there. Let me explore this area. You know, let me walk through these woods. You know, let me go up to this old church. You know what I mean? I mean, it was just nice. It was nice to be able to just get around, explore a whole new place. I didn't know anything.
Wasn't the ground black from the coal? And,
yeah, so
and all that?
You know, the ground was black. It was you know, there was smoke rising from the cracks in the ground. There's an old highway that used to run there, but is no longer used anymore, obviously. But it's completely covered in graffiti. And just off that highway was a geocache. That's one thing I really remember. But like I said before, I mean, geocaching, it's brought me to some great places. It really has. But this one stood out the most to me because I never knew about Centralia, PA. You guys can always search it up. When I heard about going on this trip, I was like, you know, let me search it up and see what it's about. It looks nice. In caches, there's so many different types of caches too, but I like the traditional ones, but there's different ones that can explain history and things like that. But I've done a few of those, but that's for another time. But to answer your question, that was probably the best place it's taken me. It's taken me a lot. Caches have taken me to a lot of good places, but that's the one that stuck out to me the most.
And this brings me to my final question for you. What do you think the most dangerous cache was for you?
Most dangerous cache. Now, I can't take all the credit for this one. There's two I want to talk about. I'll be brief. I won't be long. But the first one would have to be, as you remember earlier, I began talking about the mousetrap cache. Probably during that same trip, there was a cache in specific. It was a first to find. See, geocaching, everyone's all about being the first person to find it as soon as it gets published to the geocaching website. There's a whole process you go through, which doesn't take long. But yeah, so being first to find it's always this big battle. I mean, you know, it's all out of fun, but there was a cache when I was in I'm gonna say Pennsylvania. When I was in Pennsylvania, there was a cache that got published, and I think it was a couple days old. And we were like, why wasn't it? How come no one's claimed it? And here's why. We follow the path. You know, I think this was in Centralia, right just outside of Centralia, PA. Yeah. So we find this path off the highway. It's through the woods, and it brings us to this shale, almost like a shale mountain. It's rocky. The side was complete rock and shale, very kind of like slippery. And the shale, if you guys know what shale is, I don't particularly know what it is, but it's kind of thin and it's shiny and it's not so much slippery, but it's hard to climb on. And Wizard said the cache is up on top of that mountain. He said it's up there, and this is about 75 vertical feet up. I will say that. It was about I asked Wizard what he thought it was. He said about 75 vertical feet up. And once you get up there, the only way to get back down is to go down the other side, which is a hill, and that's the way we're going. So I pretty much had to climb up that mountain. We wanted to get up there to get that cache. So I didn't really have a choice. I mean, I was with them, and they said they're going up, and I said, do I have to? Because, I mean, I hate heights, so I had no choice. I had to climb it. I had to climb up it. I was nervous the whole way. I mean, if I slipped, I would have died. I'm not even joking. I mean, it was high up. But I made it. And, I got up there, and Wizard gets up there, and we began looking right at the edge of that cliff, because that's where the coordinates brought us. But it wasn't there. It was in a tree, and that tree was right on the edge of the cliff, and it was all the way up at the top of the tree.
Wow. And that's not the only tree you have
mm-hmm.
climbed.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell them about that one.
Yeah. It was more recently for this one. It was probably maybe like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
It's about 2 weeks ago.
Well, quickly, and then I'll explain that one. The cache when I was in Centralia, it was at the very top. And like I said, I can't take all credit for it because Wizard actually climbed, top state of Maryland, he climbed all the way up to the top of it. And he grabbed it and made the find. But we all got to log it that day. We all walked back with a smile. And that's another thing I love about not only the adventure, but the satisfaction of it. We made that climb, and we went through a lot to find the cache, and we came out happy. I mean, we found it. But moving on to the next one would be the one Tyler and I did not too long ago.
It was right by a Food Lion.
Right by Food Lion. We knew just right ahead, just by the name of the cache. We knew that this was going to be one that needed to be climbed. So we've been on a good streak tonight. We found so many that night. We were on a great streak. So I said, let's just go ahead. I'm confident we can do this. So we get up to where Ground Zero is, and it brings us to this large tree. I'm searching around. We see this one huge tree, and I knew we had to climb a tree. So that's where I came into play. I've done it before, and I decided I'll do it again. So we see a nice big tree. I was like, okay, I knew what I was climbing, and just from down low, looking up in the tree, no leaves, nothing. This tree is, kind of just getting into the stage where leaves are falling, whatever. I look up, Tyler looks up, and we began trying to look through the branches to see if we could even see a container of some sort hanging, anything like that. But of course we don't. The hint said that you just got to start climbing in order to see it, and I will say the hint was correct. So I began climbing. This tree was the biggest tree I've ever climbed. It was huge. I don't really know how to explain it over voice, but I mean, it doesn't do any justice to how big that tree was. I climbed all the way up to the top of it, and there it was. The container was hanging just right there. I mean, I was so close to it, and I was kind of afraid that I was gonna fall. But I mean, I didn't really cross my mind as I was doing it. But once I got up there, I was like, man, I am high up. It gave me a nice view that night. It was still a little bit late at night, but I will say if you were down on the ground, you probably wouldn't see me unless you were looking for me. But it was high up, and
he was to the point to where, like, literally, if anybody's driving by, they're not gonna really see him. They're just gonna see me standing there.
Mm-hmm. That was the craziest one I've ever done. So I can't really take credit for the first story because Wizard did that. I mean, I climbed the mountain, yes, but I mean, this one I made the find with Tyler. I climbed all the way up there and I got it. I mean, it was hanging right in front of me. I popped it open one hand, but yeah, I mean, that would have to answer your question. I mean, that would have to, yeah. As our first podcast comes to conclusion, I just wanted to say thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope to do some more in the future, but we can only come up with so many topics of ourselves. So we want to know what you guys want to hear. Drop a comment. We realized at first we might have a huge community, but in the next few ones we'll have topics of our own and things like that, and you just decide if you want to listen in. But Tyler, is there anything you want to say?
I don't think there's anything really else I need to say that you haven't covered. The only thing I do want to say is that make sure you guys check us out on SoundCloud, because that's where we probably will be uploading. That's where we will be uploading these podcasts, and also on the YouTube channel TNV Talks. But anyway, guys, I just want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in if you did, And Vince said, please make sure you leave a topic for us. It would be appreciated because we can only think of so many things on our own. So,
Yeah, so guys, make sure to come back for the next one. We don't know really schedule wise how they will come up, but be sure to check out our SoundCloud and be sure to subscribe. And we hope you're here for the next one. Thanks for listening in, guys.